You're watching Retirement Now with April Roberts.
Welcome to Retirement Now. I'm Megan Mozak. It's no secret that women, we tend to outlive men in every country around the world. So how could this impact your retirement? April Roberts, owner and CEO of Roberts Wealth Management, and founder Paul Roberts are here to explore some of the unique financial issues women tend to face in retirement. And coming up in Roberts on Retirement, April shares the top concerns facing you as you enter retirement and how to alleviate them. Paul, April, great to be back with you.
Great to be with you.
So we know women tend to outlive men. It's a known statistic, and it's something that really poses some challenges for women as they enter into retirement. How so, April?
Well, Megan, 80% of men die married and 80% of women die single. So think about that for a moment. This isn't just for single, divorced, or widowed women to listen to. If you're married, who's going to inherit that plan that you guys put together, hopefully? So it's really important that women get involved in planning because they are outliving. And that also argues, what about healthcare later in life? A lot of women are concerned about long-term care or home health care because they know that they probably will be on their own at that point.
That's so true. And women do take that caregiver role. Paul, we see a lot of women even stepping away from the workforce to care for perhaps children, a spouse who's fallen ill, maybe even elderly parents of their own. That impacts their retirement when they leave the workforce, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They have just as many expenses, almost. You know, the biggest misnomer out there, it's a numbers problem. One person cannot live on half of what two people lived on. That's a misnomer for sure. You still got the house mortgage possibly, you still got the children expense, you still have a lot of same expenses, right? So it's very careful to plan like that and try to include that in your plan.
Powerful statistic, April, that you shared. So 80% of men, when they pass away, they still have their spouse.
Right.
But you said 80% of women are going to die single.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the realities, what women are facing in retirement, maybe that they're not thinking about, maybe that they didn't hear in those planning meetings with their financial advisor.
So sometimes they haven't even been part of the planning and they inherit a plan that they don't understand. They inherit, this plan full of investments that they have no idea what's going on. And the worst case scenario is where they don't have a relationship with the advisor they inherit. Think about that. Because if you haven't really been involved in the process, suddenly you're working with someone that you don't have that relationship with. And we can never underestimate women's intuition. I always encourage, even if the man is the decision maker in the house, please bring your wife with you. The women's intuition of who they trust and who to work with is critical. And what's also happening with women is they're saving less for the retirement because of what you shared. They're out of the workforce taking care of kids. Most of the time they're taking care of elderly parents. And in history, they just didn't earn as much. So really, women have to save more than men do for retirement.
Boy, we seem to have that reversed. And you mentioned the relationship with the financial advisor. Paul, you have the absolute pleasure of working side by side with your daughter, April. How do you view your relationship with female clients who come to you for advice, and how do you treat them, and how do you walk them through the process?
Well, I believe it's because of my innate nature that I have been the most fortunate man in the world to have a wife of almost 50 years and two beautiful, intelligent daughters, that I have a special feeling for that area, and I want to make sure those women are taken care of just like my daughters will be. And as a matter of fact, before a meeting in my office, I take 2 minutes before with the door closed and I meditate. And I talk about maybe this couple especially, and I meditate to the fact that this is my brother and sister about to walk in here. And if I don't help them, they're not going to make it.
So it really takes that partnership, understanding that there are two people in that equation when a married couple comes to you, and the realities that you shared, that women have some unique challenges in retirement, and starting to wrap your head around that. Even just being aware, I think what you said, April, get in that driver's seat. If you've been in the back seat, now's the time, right?
Yeah, And women often make financial decisions based on their values, which in the long run turns out to be a better decision because it's catered to you and your family. And out there in the world, women are making up 83% of financial decisions for households. They control the spending book, right? But they're still not as engaged in their financial planning. So to me, this doesn't make sense. If they're making all the fiscal decisions at home, what to purchase for the home, why aren't they involved in the planning? And I really think it's our duty to better engage them and have a better conversation.
Wow, sharing some powerful statistics about women in retirement, April and Paul. And according to Nationwide, here's another stat for you. 80% of women, they list healthcare costs going out of control as a top fear in retirement. April explains how to get in front of that issue to help preserve your income in retirement. And later on, in Roberts on Retirement, April tackles your top concerns as you enter this next phase of life. But first, here's how you can contact April, Paul, and the team at Roberts Wealth Management. Stay with us.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? You'll be able to play with me.
Oh, help me go to college.
How will I remember you?
For our generation, we've always known that a hard day's work is its own reward. It's something our parents taught us long ago, and it's something we hope continues for our family. Honest work has always been a part of our lives. So for some of us, it's hard to turn off that work switch in retirement. But imagine what can happen when that work switch becomes a life switch. Look at the day that's ahead of you now. 8 hours of your energy, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do, with whomever you want to be with, at whatever pace you like. And then you realize a nice day in retirement is its own reward. At Roberts Wealth Management, April and the team can help turn a work switch into a life switch. They can develop retirement strategies to help work days become life days and create a plan for the retirement years ahead.
You're watching Retirement Now with April Roberts.
Great to be here with April and Paul Roberts of Roberts Wealth Management right here in Houston. We're talking about women in retirement here on the show today, some very unique challenges that women have and how we address those. I brought some statistics I want to read for our viewers and for you. They're eye-openers. Listen to this. According to the World Health Organization, women tend to live longer. We know that. They contribute less to tax-qualified accounts. They draw less from Social Security. We talked about that earlier. And finally, they face higher health care and long-term care expenses. That last point, April, this is huge. We know long-term care, health care and retirement especially, it can be so expensive. How are you helping women especially plan for that?
So once you get to talking to women and also couples together, often the husband's concerned about it because the husband almost always feels that he's going to go first. So he wants to make sure that his wife's taken care of. And especially with our single female clients, we really see that they're very concerned about ending up alone one day, sick, and without money. So we have to get their income plan in place to make sure they have confidence that they will have income. And then we need to address the long-term care and home health care needs, which of course is getting more and more expensive, but there are alternative ways to plan for it. We just need to find the correct way for each client.
And get that plan ahead of time. And long-term care, it doesn't always mean being in a nursing home facility, correct?
Correct. In fact, most of our clients hope to stay at home. Some want to go into a facility and get rid of their house. So again, everyone's different, but if you have a flexible enough plan, it would serve both needs.
Absolutely. Paul, I read that 68% of nursing home residents are female. Does that surprise you at all, or does that sound about right from your experience?
Doesn't surprise me at all because I've been to see my own grandmothers in nursing homes, and there wasn't a whole bunch of men in there,
It really does speak to the fact that women have to think about some of these things. It's not fun to think about end-of-life type care, but knowing that it can be expensive, knowing that if you're a woman, you shared the stat, April, there's a chance you're going to be alone. You want to make sure you can fund that. How do you get out in front of some of those expenses, Paul?
You get out in front of them by some planning with some hybrid strategies, things to pay for that far in advance of the age that you have to go in, because, of course, if you do it at that age, it gets fairly expensive. But there are alternative ways to do it besides long-term care premiums, which are extremely high at an older age, of course. So we look into all that as continuous planning and review with our client.
Again, making those tweaks along the way.
There you go.
Absolutely. And Megan, you know, there are forms of life insurance that cover it. So if you never use it, your family still gets the money. There are income sources like annuities that increase to help you pay for it. And like, you know, you and Dad pointed out, you really can't start too soon. I mean, I'm 43 and I'm buying myself a policy this year. So I think it's really important to address it and put something in place so you don't have to worry about it.
Because it could eat your lunch, I think is what you said earlier, Paul. This is something you have to address. If your advisor is not bringing up the end of life care, nursing home care, is that a red flag potentially?
Potentially. I mean, obviously, you want your advisor to look at things from all angles. We even stress test our plans, so we basically assume you're going to have health care the last few years of your life and see how it affects your plan. So you always want to look forward, because sometimes people aren't concerned about it when they should be, and sometimes people are concerned about it when they really don't need to be. So you need to look at it from every angle.
Regardless, you cannot take the head in the sand approach. That's
Correct.
Not recommended. You've got to face this head on, especially if you're a woman, if you are going to be alone at the end of life. And that is a real fear. Being alone, being out of income, it's not where anyone wants to be. So doing the planning ahead of time. April and Paul, thank you so much. And straight ahead, what are the biggest concerns facing today's retirees, both men and women? April tells us what they are and how to prepare for them. That's next on Roberts on Retirement. And still to come, April answers questions from viewers just like you. First, here's how you can contact the team at Roberts Wealth Management. Stay tuned.
Are your investment accounts exposed to too much risk? How will your nest egg be impacted the next time the market experiences a correction? Now is a great time to get a no-cost retirement review with April and the team at Roberts Wealth Management.
We believe planning for retirement should be taken very seriously.
Here's what they'll do. Review your current strategy and expose some of the hidden weaknesses of your retirement portfolio. Compile a fee report to uncover how much you're really being charged in fees. Show you safer money alternatives to ensure you don't outlive your income in retirement. Plus, stress test your portfolio and perform a risk assessment of your current retirement accounts.
It's one of the most important things you can do. It's about planning for your future.
Call Roberts Wealth Management now to get started on your no-cost retirement review with April and the team at Roberts Wealth Management. Call now.
Just when you may want to forget your age, Uncle Sam says not so fast. Knowing your age is more important than ever when it comes to taking your required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Legislation just changed the age requirement, and not accounting for that could impact your retirement plan. It could be key to not overpaying on taxes in retirement. So remember, when it comes to RMDs, age is more than just a number. Before your next birthday, call today to secure a strategy for the RMD age change and your retirement.
You're watching Retirement Now with April Roberts.
In today's Roberts on Retirement, what are the biggest concerns among people just like you heading into retirement? April has the answer and shows us how to put those concerns to rest. April?
Today, we're talking about your top concerns. In fact, we're talking about concerns facing retirees. What's interesting is, in our discovery meeting, when we talk to people about what retirement looks like for them, what their hopes, their dreams, their goals are, it looks different for everyone. In fact, one of the top concerns of Americans over the age of 50 is outliving their money. Now, why are they concerned about this? For a number of reasons. Number one is inflation. No one really knows what this looks like in the future, and in fact, inflation isn't that bad right now, we think. But let's dig into that in a second. Next, most people are worried about risk and volatility. They lived through 2000, they lived through 2008, and now that they're entering retirement, they're worried about how risk and volatility might affect their retirement. And many of you often share that healthcare costs are a huge concern. You're really worried about the rising cost of healthcare. In fact, it seems to be outpacing the increase on other inflationary items. And taxes are a big concern. We all know that taxes are on sale right now, but in a couple of years when the tax laws change, who knows what that's going to look like. Of course, the more you pay in taxes, the less you have to get you through retirement and take care of your family. And finally, many people often ask, April, Paul, how much can we spend in retirement? Because this really goes to your quality of life and what you get to enjoy. So today, let's dig into one of these topics. Let's just see how inflation has affected us. Now again, most of us think that inflation isn't bad now and we worry about it in the future. But what if we took a time machine and went back to 1970 something? Do you remember how much a tank of gas cost in 1970? And by the way, do you remember how they would clean your windshield, pump it for you, and if you needed it, change your oil? So a gallon of gas in 1970 cost 35 cents. Can you imagine? What do you think it costs today? Today in the US, the average gallon of gas is $2.60. And guess what? You have to pump it yourself. Now, think about your home. I bet if I asked you, most of you just paid more for a car than you did your first home. Think about it. In 1975, do you remember what the average cost of a home was? It was just $39,500. Doesn't sound too bad, does it? Now, fast forward to October 2017, and what was the average cost of a home in America? Over $400,000. So we can see, while we think inflation isn't really that bad right now, look how much things have increased just during your lifetime. Remember taking a date to McDonald's back in the 70s? Could you believe it? A fillet of fish was just 48 cents. In fact, you could have purchased this entire menu for just over $5. That's kind of funny because if we look at a cup of coffee, do you see where it's 15 cents? Could you imagine that? Starbucks would laugh at you if you pulled out 15 cents and put it on the counter. In fact, for $5, you're lucky if you got a full cup of coffee. So we can all see how just during our lifetimes, inflation has really increased the cost of things. It's no wonder that most retirees are worried about running out of money in retirement. We have no idea what inflation looks like in the future, but we have to have a plan to address it. We also don't know what taxes look like in the future, rising healthcare costs, and the number one concern for most people is, do I have enough money to last me? A good retirement income plan addresses all of these concerns. If you're ready for your second opinion, come in and visit our team. We're happy to walk you through it. Megan, back to you.
Still to come, we'll hear directly from you in our Q&A section. But first, here's a special offer from April, Paul, and the team at Roberts Wealth Management. Stay with us.
What does your retirement look like? Is it filled with travel, time with your grandchildren, uninterrupted rounds at the golf course? Or are you too worried about your financial future to even think about your hopes and dreams? Questions about retirement are normal. The Roberts Wealth Management team can answer your questions with a complimentary review of your retirement plan. And it all starts with getting to know you. Roberts Wealth Management specializes in helping people just like you prepare for the retirement you dream of. April and the team can review your current strategy to expose the potential hidden weaknesses that may exist in your retirement portfolio. Plus, they will explain potential risks and possible strategies to you in clear and simple language. Once they understand your retirement goals and dreams, they'll work to develop a custom retirement plan to help ensure that you don't outlive your income in retirement. Retirement doesn't need to be scary. Let Roberts Wealth Management help you retire confidently. Call now to schedule a visit.
Planning on passing your IRA to your children or grandchildren? That could be more of a burden than a blessing due to the recently passed SECURE Act. This legislation eliminates the stretch IRA, which means now when loved ones inherit an IRA, they could also be inheriting a huge tax bill. Now's the time to sit down with a trusted advisor to find out how you can maximize the legacy you want to leave. Call today to find out how the SECURE Act could affect you and your retirement plans. Don't let taxes dictate your legacy. Call now and leave a legacy you feel secure about.
You're watching Retirement Now with April Roberts.
Time now to get to some of your questions for April and Paul. Ready to do this?
Absolutely.
Okay, here we go. Question 1 from Gail. She writes in from Sugar Land. She says, do you recommend that people should take advantage of the catch-up provisions and contribute more to their 401k once they turn 50? I don't really think that I need to put more money in than I'm already putting into that account, but it would be hard to pass up the opportunity to further reduce my taxable income this year.
So, Gail, I think it's never a bad idea to save if you can afford to do so. Especially as we talked about earlier, often women save less than men do for retirement because of time out of the workforce, traditionally lower salaries, etc. So why not put yourself in a great position? As far as whether you should put it in your 401k or not, that's really a tax question we'd want to look at with you and your CPA. Does it make more sense for you to maybe save some tax-free retirement or taxable retirement? Or does it make sense to contribute to your 401k and save on taxes now?
All right, probably a good idea to talk those options out with someone.
Absolutely.
This next question is from John in the Woodlands. He says, I'm 65 and considering a life insurance policy to help replace my pension income in case my wife outlives me by several years. Is it unusual for someone to be buying life insurance at my age? April, we talked about this, women outliving men. It sounds like John's thinking about that.
Absolutely. Sounds like he's a great husband. So it also sounds like John's taken a single life pension, which, just quickly to remind everyone, when making that decision on pensions, and a lot of times here in town, people have an option for a pension buyout. Really important to talk to your retirement income specialist about this because you want to make the right decision for you and your family. But John's taken the single life pension and he wants to make sure his wife still has income. So he probably actually needs life insurance to fill in that gap. I'm not certain. I would need to see their situation and how much they've saved and how much they spend. So in some instances, even in their 60s, people need life insurance. Then second, they may just want life insurance because there are some additional benefits. Life insurance today is not like life insurance of the past. Sometimes it can help plan for long-term care and home health care, making sure that your family gets the money if you don't need it, or it could even create income in retirement.
What about health care, long-term care? Could you use insurance for those purposes?
There are some policies that also cover long-term care or home health care. I like for our clients the most flexible ones where our clients can choose.
Good options there. All right, next question is from Donald. He writes in from Houston today. He says, is there a helpful way to figure out how much income I'll need in retirement? I thought I knew exactly how much we were spending every month, but now that I've started crunching the numbers, it appears I was way off. Uh-oh. All right, Paul, how can we help him?
Well, Donald, you're not alone. Most people I see over 40 years are in the same boat as you. They underestimated the expenses because we never stop and look at our life as good as we do at retirement time. So it's important. I have a guideline to give clients to come up with those expenses to help them think of things they never think about, because we want to know how much they need in retirement. Then how do we find the gap? We call it the gap. April always jokes, mind the gap. So we mind the gap at our office by reverse engineering how much mailbox money you have coming in, sure money versus what you need, and the difference is called the gap, and we solve for that gap.
Nobody likes a gap when it's coming to income. All right, our next question is from Katie. Bill writes in, he says, I've had about 90% of my assets in cash for the last 3 years. I know this is way too much to have in cash, but I'm too nervous to do anything else with it. Where do I begin to start looking for some conservative options, Paul?
Well, that's a great question because we see that more and more in today's environment. People think we're near the bubble and they come in like that. But we're always on the lookout and researching for good conservative income strategies because we deal with clients about to retire and in retirement. So we're always on the lookout for that type of investments. And yes, you can go broke safely if you're not careful. So we need to find some alternatives.
So the good news is there are some conservative options when it comes to cash. Everybody loves options, Paul. Great show today about women and retirement, some of the unique challenges that are out there, but also the fact that we have ways to face those challenges head on. In fact, you do just that with some live events. You do seminars with just women, correct?
We do, and they're very fun events. They're very lively and very informative. So we love to do that. It makes women feel comfortable, and the audience is just amazing at those events.
I bet it's high energy, right?
Absolutely.
April, Paul, thank you so much. And if you have a question, you can visit askaprilroberts.com. We might use one of your questions on a future show. Don't hesitate to act on the information you've heard today. It never hurts to call, even if it's for a second opinion. So don't wait, call now. For April, Paul, and the team at Roberts Wealth Management, I'm Megan Mozak. Have a great day and an even better retirement.